What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, coming back at you with our AMA Ask Me Anything. This one is brought to us from Klarissa. I think I said that right. And she is asking about refeeds. But before we dive into that, let's roll the intro. All right, so Klarissa asks, at what point during a cut or prep would you start implementing refeeds? Also, can you explain exactly how a ketogenic refeed works? Okay, so refeeds. Typically, in a bro diet or flexible dieting style of macro, distribution, you implement a refeed before the competition. There's multiple different strategies for this. Some people do a massive carb up the day before. Some people do a front load earlier in the week and then taper off as the show gets closer. I've seen all different kinds of things. But basically the whole point is to replenish muscle glycogen to fill out muscles and look fuller on show day itself. Now, there are multiple scenarios in which a refeed would be advantageous, independent of just the competition day itself. Some of the benefits are it gives you, honestly, the main benefit is the psychological benefit. So if you're dieting down, you've been dieting down for months and months and months, your calories are low, you're hungry, you're depleted, you feel deprived, you just need something to look forward to. Having a strategic bolus of calories gives you a kind of a stopgap to make the lower daily calories that much more tolerable. It also provides a temporary acute bump in metabolic rate because you're having that increase in food coming that your body just soaks up because you've been so depleted. So there's benefit there. But from a competitive standpoint, it does allow you to add a little bit of polish and fill out a little bit before stepping on stage for a panel of judges. I'll also manipulate electrolytes slightly. Some people will go as far as to dehydrate, which I do not recommend because it's dangerous and unnecessary. You want your muscles to be hydrated on the show day because your muscles are comprised largely of fluid, water, and you want your muscles to be hydrated. You do not want that fluid to spill over into your subcutaneous layer of skin and basically be between the muscle and the skin, which is going to wash out definition. So you don't want that. A lot of people that fool around with carbohydrates are more susceptible to that because if you overdo the carbs or mess up with your electrolytes or hydration levels, that spillover effect will take place, and all of your hard work and looking defined and polished for the show is going to be for naught because you're going to have that spillover effect. What I'll typically do is I'll start implementing refeeds 4 to 6 weeks before the competition, and I'll trial those refeeds out with different distributions of macros, different grams of fat and protein, and different varying amounts of sodium and fluid to see kind of what brings out the best look the day following. You've only got about a 48-hour window to kind of finesse things and polish and peak because your body is going to return to a homeostatic set point with your electrolyte and hydration levels. So your body's going to fight to return to them. That's why it's called peaking, because you can't sustain that look, that heightened look indefinitely. You've only got a small window of time before your body reestablishes a blood serum sodium balance, basically, and returns to that equilibrium. So you've got a finite period of time to really get things dialed in. But even if you're not competing, having that bolus of calories provides the psychological and emotional, benefits when you're dealing with lower calories overall, and it does give you a performance boost in the gym and that slight acute metabolic bump. So I'll typically time my heaviest compound movements the day following a refeed so I kind of put those calories to work, not in the context of a show, but just in general. Again, I'll start doing that about 4 to 6 weeks before the actual competition, or if you're not competing, you can start bringing that in 4 to 6 weeks prior to the end of your fat loss phase. But you kind of want to time your caloric adjustments such that when you are getting about 4 to 6 weeks out from the end, your calories at that point are likely very low, and your body would benefit from that strategic bolus of food. Now, it is strategic. It's not just a free-for-all, all-you-can-eat, basically. You don't want to do that. I'll typically start with about a 20 or 30% increase in calories above baseline at that point. So if I'm 6 weeks out from a show and my intake is, 1,900, 1,800 calories, I'll do like a conservative 20% increase above that. And I'll take those and I'll distribute that in different ways between fat and protein. Carbs obviously are staying very low, But that's kind of how I'll finesse things. And each week as the show gets closer, my daily calories are going lower, but my refeed calories are getting higher. So on the actual peak week itself, my refeed may be 40, sometimes even 50% increase in calories above baseline calories at that point. That all makes the lower daily calories that much more sustainable, and it provides that polished, filled out muscle glycogen effect. Now, you can still replenish muscle glycogen with fat and proteins. You don't have to have carbohydrates if you are fat adapted. There's no point in using carbs throughout the entirety of your prep, then trying to do keto at the very last minute to lose more fat, and then that's just mixing two worlds, and it's not really going to be advantageous. So I'll always make my refeeds come from an increase in both fats and proteins, not carbohydrates, and I will start that about 6 weeks out, typically depending on my caloric intake at the time. Now, when it comes to the types of foods you want to use, if you are competing, you want to try and keep those trial refeeds pretty consistent so you don't have a whole bunch of unnecessary variables. So whatever you're going to consume on show day itself, pretty much I would recommend consuming those same foods on the days or on the weeks leading up to that with those trial refeeds. And I've found the best luck with like a ketogenic fathead pizza with, lots of fats and proteins. So that's what I would recommend. That's what I would try. Do those about 4 to 6 weeks out from the end of your cut or fat loss phase. And then you can use those refeeds kind of as you reverse diet out back to a normal sustainable intake after the fat loss phase. So thank you very much for the question, Klarissa. You asked for some toasted almond coconut keto bricks, so I will send some of those your way. For anybody that does not know how these AMA videos work, if you submit me a well thought out question via the link in the description below and I use your question, then I will send you some free keto bricks with a flavor of your choosing. Thank you all so very much. Talk to you next time.